the shootings are attracting many young generation to say, what I can do. I am young, I'm 20 years old, 21. What I can do to stop this violence with spreading in France, in Germany, in Spain, in America, in Latin America, in South Africa, in Middle East, in West Africa. The same disease.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. My name is Marco Gonzalez. I am the director of Yahad-In Unum, Together in One. We are a French organization, and we've been collecting the proofs of the Holocaust by bullets in Eastern Europe. What means the Holocaust by bullets? Every time that we think of the Holocaust, we think of concentration camps, we think of gas chambers, we think of deportations, trains. But there is a part of the Holocaust that happened in Eastern Europe where everybody was killed in the small villages by another man. There were killings, there were shootings, and all the bodies were buried in mass graves. So the work that we have been doing for almost 20 years is to collect the evidences of these crimes village by village in Eastern Europe. But we realized at the same time that this part of the Holocaust, what the historians name the Holocaust by bullets, has a legacy today, which means that after the Holocaust, after these shootings in Eastern Europe, many other mass crimes and genocide happen in the world. And this is the reason we are very happy to be part of this initiative, Together We Remember, during the month of the genocide awareness, because it is important that we always remember those who were killed just because they were different. It is important that the new generations learn from the mistakes of the past so they can build a better world. But it will be even better if in the future we won't need to commemorate any more genocides in the world. Yahad-In Unum is going to turn to 17 years old since its creation in the month of May, next month. And we are very happy to present for the very first time in public, online, a short movie, a short video that we put together here in France to make you understand how we work, what we do, and why it is important to continue doing this work, not only for the memory of the victims, but also to prevent another mass crimes or genocide. So it's for me an honor to present you for the very first time our short movie, Blind Spots. See you after the movie.
Tout a commencé dans un petit village en Ukraine, Ravaruska. On savait qu'il y avait beaucoup de Juifs avant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale et on se demandait qu'est-ce qui s'est passé avec les Juifs puisqu'aujourd'hui il n'y a personne. En fait, ils ont été amenés au milieu de la forêt et ils ont été assassinés, fusillés.
Et puis on a découvert que les Juifs n'étaient pas enterrés, que personne ne savait où c'était, que personne ne voulait parler, que tout le monde disait il n'y a jamais eu de fusillade.
On arrive et on retrouve des gens âgés, des villageois. Ils nous racontent ce qui s'est passé avec les derniers Juifs de Ravaruska, ce qu'ils ont vu.
Et ils ont assisté aux fusillades de leurs voisins, parce qu'ils étaient des voisins des Juifs ou des Tziganes ou des communistes.
Quand on pense à l'Holocauste, c'est vrai que la première idée qui nous vient à l'esprit, c'est les camps de concentration, c'est Auschwitz. On ne se rend pas compte qu'il y a eu autant de fusillades, de fosses communes.
On est loin de s'imaginer la proportion que la Shoah par balle a prise tout au long de la guerre, en fait, sur le front, avec les unités mobiles qui ont massacré des personnes dans des centaines, voire des milliers de villages.
On se rend compte que ce n'était pas caché. c'était en public, puisque c'est un génocide qui a été fait à la main, avec des hommes qui ont tué des autres hommes. Chaque victime a vu son assassin, et chaque assassin a vu sa victime. Et c'est comme ça que nous avons commencé à enquêter village par village en Europe de l'Est pour trouver les preuves de ces assassinats des Juifs et des Tziganes. Mais avant tout ça, il y a des équipes qui travaillent à Paris, dans les bureaux de Yahad-In Unum, et qui préparent ces voyages de recherche. Il y a tout un travail aussi scientifique et méthodologique qui a été développé.
Cette méthodologie s'articule en fait en plusieurs étapes. Une première étape qui consiste en un travail de documentation, que ce soit des archives allemandes, des archives soviétiques, des archives polonaises, des archives roumaines.
Pour mener les enquêtes, Yad a la possibilité d'accéder aux archives de Ludwigsburg, où il se trouve les dossiers judiciaires contre les bourreaux allemands.
On traite des témoignages, on fait des recherches sur chaque village, sur chaque région, chaque communauté, ce qu'elles ont vécu pendant la guerre et comment elles ont évolué après. Tant que cela est possible, parce qu'évidemment c'est une course contre la montre, les personnes vieillissent, les personnes meurent. Donc c'est très important ce qu'on fait, puisque un jour elles ne seront plus là pour raconter ce qu'elles ont vécu.
Et depuis 16 ans, eh bien, on frappe à la porte et on demande « Est-ce que vous étiez là, madame ?» et « Est-ce que vous étiez là, monsieur ?» Et si la personne répond « Oui », eh bien, on essaie de sauver la mémoire de l'Europe.
On ne le fait pas froidement, ce n'est pas des enquêtes chirurgicales, elles sont précises, elles sont scientifiques, mais elles sont quand même humaines. Il y a toujours une empathie très importante avec les témoins et avec les survivants.
Il nous donne la description très précise de ce qui s'est passé, de l'arrivée des Juifs, du déshabillage sur place, de comment ils étaient agenouillés devant la fosse, des fusillades, de l'Allemand qui donne l'ordre de tirer et avant que les bourreaux, visiblement ivres, tirent, du camion qui vient à la fin pour récupérer les vêtements. Ce sont des informations qu'on ne trouve pas dans les archives, ce sont des informations vraiment de quelqu'un qui était sur les lieux.
On interviewe autant des killers que des gens qui ont sauvé des Juifs.
Ce que nous voulons savoir, c'est ce qui s'est passé.
Une enquête policière, une enquête criminelle dans les villages, de façon très locale, pour savoir ce qu'est devenu la communauté juive locale, comment ils ont été tués et où sont leurs cadavres actuellement, donc localiser les fosses communes.
Les équipes de Yahad-In Unum travaillent notamment avec des experts balistiques dans certains pays, puisque sur chaque douille, vous avez un lieu de fabrication et une année de fabrication. Et une réapparition de certaines mouvances, notamment de mouvances négationnistes, quand vous pouvez leur présenter des douilles que vous trouvez sur un lieu de massacre, des objets, des documents d'identité ou des artefacts qui sont liés à la tradition et à la religion juive, vous pouvez vite comprendre que les victimes sont des juifs.
Il y a toujours des angles morts dans les génocides, dans les crimes de masse, dans les crimes en général. Et nous, notre mission, c'est aussi d'aller dans ces angles morts-là.
Donc on est, je dirais, dans la zone grise de l'humanité. C'est un challenge difficile parce qu'il a fallu admettre que finalement les voisins des Juifs ou des Tziganes sont contents parce qu'ils auront la maison, parce qu'ils auront les filles, parce qu'ils auront l'argent, les bijoux, les chaussures.
C'est toujours inconfortable, c'est toujours difficile, dangereux, souvent dangereux, disons. Mais c'est nécessaire parce que si ces angles morts-là sont laissés vacants, c'est la porte ouverte à une déformation de l'histoire, à une utilisation politique de l'histoire.
Nous avons collecté plus de 7000 témoignages. Et grâce à ces témoignages-là, on arrive à comprendre ces mécanismes d'assassinat qui nous a fait comprendre comment ça marche un génocide. Les pères de voix parlent très souvent qu'ils n'aiment pas quand on dit never again, plus jamais. Parce que malheureusement, après la Shoah, il y a eu des autres génocides, des autres violences de masse qui se sont passées.
Tout part de la haine de l'autre, tout part de la peur de l'autre. et de l'incompréhension de l'autre aussi, de ce qu'est l'autre et de ce qu'il représente.
Parce que cette population est différente, parce que cette population a des origines différentes, parce que cette population a une religion différente. Et c'est ça qui nous permet aujourd'hui de pouvoir agir quand il se passe quelque chose dans le monde. C'est ça qui nous a amenés dans les petits villages des peuples quichés au Guatemala pour essayer de comprendre aussi ce qui s'est passé pendant les années 80. Selon les historiens, il y a eu entre 250 000 et 500 000 victimes.
Là encore, on a interviewé des femmes, des hommes qui ont survécu. Je me souviens de cette femme qui était enceinte de 8 mois, qui a été violée et dont la fille maintenant est handicapée à vie, alors que l'on tuait son mari et ses autres enfants. Je me souviens de ce groupe de femmes qui n'osaient rien dire et tout d'un coup, l'une d'elles, la plus jolie, a dit « on a toutes été violées ». On était enfermés dans une grange et les hommes venaient les uns après les autres. Et donc ça nous a ouvert à nouveau la zone grise des massacres de masse dont personne ne parle, que tout le monde oublie, parce que c'est pas à la mode, parce que ça n'attire pas les médias.
Mais il y a plusieurs points communs dans la tuerie, dans la haine, peu importe finalement l'histoire que peut avoir le pays et les communautés visées, au Guatemala encore une fois, en Irak maintenant, mais aussi au Rwanda, le modèle de la Shoah par balle que nous, ici à Yahad, on documente, qui est aussi utilisé dans ces différents endroits, avec des améliorations pour certains, des améliorations plutôt lugubres et morbides, mais des améliorations dans les méthodes d'exécution et dans la façon de traiter les victimes.
Et puis est arrivé le génocide des Yazidis par Daesh. Lorsque moi-même j'ai vu les images à la télévision, que l'on parlait d'un génocide, j'ai pris le temps de prier 3 jours. Et après 3 jours, ça m'a paru clair qu'il fallait aller en Irak.
Et pour lui, c'était insoutenable de regarder toutes ces images à la télévision où on voyait toutes ces femmes, enfants et des hommes Yazidi qui étaient en train de se faire massacrer en Irak. C'est surtout des femmes et des enfants qui ont réussi à s'échapper de Daesh. Dans ces cas-là, on ne parle pas de témoins, on parle de survivants.
On a filmé plus de 400 survivants, survivantes qui sortent des griffes de Daesh. Les récits sont terribles.
On a été contactés par les administrations françaises qui avaient des questions sur les enfants français qui revenaient. C'était évidemment des enfants très difficiles à gérer. On leur donnait une image précise, grâce au regard des Yazidis, une image précise de ce que c'était pour un enfant de vivre sous Daesh. Ils voyaient des condamnés à mort crucifiés dans les rues, où les condamnés à mort sont exposés sur des grilles de square, où on lapide des gens, où on jette des gens par les immeubles légalement. Ce sont des peines légales que les enfants voyaient. Donc, ces enfants n'ont pas été protégés. Ils ont vu la violence, on leur a enseigné la violence. C'est assez clair que c'est une éducation qui rend les enfants dangereux. C'est une éducation qui doit être déconstruite.
Et puis nous avons ouvert des centres pour les rétablir, entre guillemets, dans leur identité. Et nous avons la joie de voir plus de la moitié des jeunes retrouver la vie, le sourire, la joie.
Et ça a été un tournant pour Yahad-In Unum, ce moment-là. D'organisation de recherche, d'organisation de recueil de preuves et d'enseignements, on a développé une expertise d'aide aux survivants. En fait, c'est ça, Yahad se situe vraiment du côté des victimes oubliées. Oubliées par l'histoire, parce qu'elles étaient loin, parce qu'elles étaient soviétiques, parce qu'elles étaient en bas de l'échelle des koufars.
Yahad, c'est pas simplement la mémoire, c'est pas simplement les crimes, c'est aussi l'avenir. Il faut que l'on s'occupe des victimes de ces massacres aujourd'hui et en prenant en compte, je dirais, la zone grise qui les habite aussi, puisque eux-mêmes sont devenus la plupart des terroristes.
Et c'est la raison pour laquelle c'est important d'enseigner la Shoah, pas uniquement comme un fait historique, comme quelque chose qui s'est passé il y a 70 ans, il y a 80 ans, pour montrer aux nouvelles générations ce qui est un génocide, ce qui est une violence de masse. Ça doit avoir un impact aujourd'hui.
Certains sont mobilisés par le réchauffement climatique et c'est très important. Certains par l'écologie et c'est très important. Mais tous les jours aussi, on tue, on égorge, on met des bombes. Une fois, c'est à Kaboul. Alors bon, Kaboul, c'est loin. Une fois, c'est au Nigeria. Oh, bah, on ne sait pas trop où c'est. Et puis tout d'un coup, c'est pas loin de Paris. Tout d'un coup, c'est à Nice. Tout d'un coup, c'est à Orlando. Tout d'un coup, c'est dans les banlieues de Brooklyn. Tout d'un coup, c'est à Pittsburgh. Alors là, on est touché. On est touché parce que c'est les voisins. Et il faut que des générations de jeunes se lèvent demain. On ne peut pas déléguer la responsabilité de la planète uniquement à la police et aux services secrets. Il faut que chacun prenne ses responsabilités. Yahad, c'est aussi pour connecter d'autres personnes qui dorment mal lorsque l'on tue quelqu'un très loin. Si on continue à bien dormir, on va se réveiller dans un cauchemar.
As you could see in this movie, there was a man who took the initiative to begin investigating in Eastern Europe about the killings of Jews and Roma. And this is Father Debois. He's a Catholic priest, a French Catholic priest, whose grandfather was deported to Rabaruska as a French prisoner of war. And going there to build a memorial for all those French militaries deported in Rabaruska, he began to wonder what happened with the Jews living in that small village not far from the border with Poland. And then it happened. We discovered that, in fact, all these shootings, all these killings were not in secret, they were in public. And all those children and teenagers at that time, they saw the crimes, they saw the shootings, and they know today where are the mass graves. Of course, we are running against time. These witnesses are passing away, just like the survivors of the Holocaust. And this is one of the reasons, or the main reason, why we need to continue doing our work as fast as we can to continue collecting the evidences of the crimes of the Jews and Roma in Eastern Europe. So to tell us a little bit more about the Holocaust by bullets, let me pass the micro to Father Patrick Debois, President and founder of Yahad-In Unum.
Hello, everybody. Perhaps some of you know what we are doing. Some people don't know. I want to send my congratulations to Tali from Johannesburg. I know that she's following. She's a very good friend. And I was invited with her to inaugurate a wonderful museum. And we are very happy to participate in this program. First, the first question for me, effectively, my grandpa was deported in Ukraine. And I realized very quickly that this chapter of history was very unknown. And until now, after 20 years of investigations done by my organization, Yahad-In Unum, in 10 countries, because we work in Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Belarus, Romania, Moldavia, Russia, etc., Ukraine. And always the same question for me. How so many German, young, mostly educated, mostly male, but also female, leaving their cities like Stuttgart, like Köln, like Berlin, and going 2-3 years in these poor countries, from village to village to village, killing people, children, grandma, mother, all the families, because they were Jews, or because they were Gypsy, or because they were communist, or because they were anti-German. And so, and we were in the middle of the war, and nobody speaks about that. And most of these Germans came back in their families, quite, disappeared in the shadow of the society, and nobody spoke about that because they were not working in Auschwitz. They were only killing civilians. And so for me, it was a mystery, a terrible mystery, because a terrible success. We estimate that they shot minimum 2 million people, one by one. It means 2 million times one German or one collaborator took his machine gun, his rifle, and shot somebody. You imagine 2 million bullets. 2 million bullets, one by one, in the middle of Europe, from Lithuania to Azerbaijan. The German never left one village, and we don't speak about it. So what we did, it was a crazy initiative. It was to interview the local people who were present at the killing, because they killed the Jews near their farms, behind the church, the market, anywhere. And they went to see, and nobody interviewed them. When I began, I was thinking to make 2 free travels. We were alone with Marco. We were 3 or 4 people, and we were thinking that in a few months would be finished. But now it's already 17 years and we have not finished. And we still need to interview the last survivors, because we want to find the last mass grave where the Germans went from their wealthy country to this poor village to kill these poor people and come back very heroically in their family. So what we discovered is that the local people, ex-Soviet people from Ukraine, from Belarus, from Russia, it's still strange for me, accepted to speak. Because if I did the same interview in France, in Italy, in Luxembourg, in Belgium, and in Germany, nobody would like to speak. But in Eastern Europe, they accept to speak. And so we discovered that these poor people were present. They saw the German arriving. They saw the gathering of their neighbors. They saw their neighbors queuing in a line, and they saw them shot one by one in front of their eyes. But they were not only spectators. Why? Because the Germans didn't want to have dirty hands. They came only with their rifles, their gun, and their alcohol from Germany, and that's it. So nobody to dig the mass grave, nobody to fulfill the mass grave, nobody to clean the suits in the night. They needed the local people. All the dirty job has been done by the local people. You know, when I began, I worked with the Cardinal of Paris, and he told me the mystery of Holocaust is in the memory of the poorest people. So we have interviewed 8,000 poor people present at the killing, wanted to speak. I will never forget, you know, one man, he told me, I have 1,532 Jews in my garden, and nobody came back since 42. So you know me, I studied Holocaust, I read many books, I made conferences in Yad Vashem in France, and I always heard Holocaust was secret. I read many books about the secret of Holocaust, and suddenly I saw it was public. So it was a strange adventure for us to collect all this evidence of the crime village per village, as you saw this short movie. Why is it useful today? Why we did all that? Because it's crazy, you know, we did that in 17 years, and we still have not finished. You know, first, anti-Semitism is coming back. Some people now again kill Jews. You know, recently they killed this woman. They threw from a building in Paris, but it happens in another place. They killed also an old survivor, Mrs. Knall, and they killed a young Jew, and they are kicking last week Jews in Brooklyn, etc., etc. Violence is coming back, not only against the Jews, not only against the Jews, because other groups also are suffering the same disease. And we see, because I teach in Georgetown, but we teach also in Europe, we teach in France, we teach in universities, we see that the young generation, now they think Holocaust is far away. It's not the story of Pa, it's not the story of grandpa, it's the story of grandpa. So it's okay, Auschwitz and that, okay, grandpa, it's okay. I'm young. But the shootings are attracting many, many young generation to say, what I can do. I am young, I'm 20 years old, 21. What I can do to stop this violence with spreading in France, in Germany, in Spain, in America, in Latin America, in South Africa, in Middle East, in West Africa, the same disease. Realize nobody rebuilt a camp. Nobody made an Auschwitz. Today, only shootings, stabbing. We came back to killing done by hand. So we estimate now that our organization has to teach the crimes committed. The young generation are not ready to swallow the big history, but they are ready to have answer to this question: what can I do to heal human beings who have this tendency to shoot, to kill, to stab in the middle of humanity? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not only the Jews were part of the victims that the Germans killed during the Holocaust. I mean, there were a lot of reasons why many people were killed. And my colleague, Costel Nastasi, who is in Brussels, he is Roma, and his family also suffered persecution and many painful stories that happened during the Holocaust. In Eastern Europe, the Roma were also killed and put in mass graves, just like the Jews. So for me, it's a nice honor to present my colleague Costel Nastasi, who will tell us a little bit of his experience and his engagement in the project of Yahad-In Unum to investigate the genocide of the Roma in Eastern Europe.
Thank you, Marco. Hi, everyone. So I will try to do it in English. So I'm not very good in English, but I will try to do my best. So first, my name is Costel Nastasi. As Marco told, I'm Roma from Romania, and I'm also Belgian and established in here more than 15 years. So I started working for Yahad in June 2014. I started as a coordinator, translator also in country like Romania and Moldova. And later I became a team leader also. So until now, we have made more than 10 research trips in Romania, and we have interviewed more than 250 Roma survivors and more than 100 witnesses who saw what happened with the Romanian Jew during the Second World War. In Moldova, we made 8 research trips and more than 200 witnesses who saw the shooting of Jews, the arrestation and the deportation also. So this work allowed me to know the story of my family, but also the story of my people. But afterward, for me, this work became a duty, a responsibility. After this work, I quickly understood something. In life, there are two choices: accepting things as they are or accepting the responsibility to change them. Everyone must take the responsibility to have a better world without hatred, without violence, and more tolerance. Thank you.
Thank you, Bali. You are an inspiration for so many young people. You are this generation who is not forgetting what happened in history, what happened to their relatives, and you are going forward, working on the crimes that happened 80 years ago, 90 years ago, 70 years ago, but also you are passing a message to the new generations not to forget these atrocities. And this is why it is so important that we teach the consequences of the past so the new generations learn about that and they don't make the same mistakes. And in 2016, we had the initiative to open the first Holocaust museum in Central America, in Guatemala, 3 blocks from the main square downtown Guatemala City. We never expected that we will have so many interest in the people in Guatemala. The Ministry of Education and the government of Guatemala, they passed the law in 2016 to teach the Holocaust in the schools. So we have a strong partnership with the Ministry of Education to teach the Holocaust. So it's my pleasure to introduce to Angel del Valle, who is the director of the Museum of the Holocaust Guatemala, so they can tell us a little bit more of the initiatives that we are doing in Guatemala.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angel del Valle. I am the director of the Museum of the Holocaust Guatemala, founded by Yahad-In Unum in Guatemala City. Last year, when the pandemic began, Marco Gonzalez was here in Guatemala with me, and we were locked up. We began thinking about how to work and how to keep the museums alive, as all the museums were, what we had to do, since we only had the choice of an online program. So wonderful things happened, even though we were in the middle of a crisis. A Zoom program with 9 webinars was planned and executed throughout 2020. The main feature had to be that every European speaker had to speak Spanish. Suddenly, a whole world opened. A new phase of the museum began. People connected from all over the world. We were stunned. 40,000 people connected to us. South America was in sync with Guatemala, so to speak. Emails, calls, invitations started to come to the museum. The Holocaust by bullets, one of our strongest topics, of course, was a trending topic, so to speak. Everybody was interested in this information. As a museum in Latin America, we knew we had to start little by little, starting with historical context, geography, demystify all these terrible contexts running all over the internet. Being the young, the most manipulable, due to their lack of knowledge and therefore understanding of the nature of the Holocaust itself, we see and teach the Holocaust under the eyes of the 21st century so that the memory becomes important. To prevent future atrocities based on racism, hatred for any reason, human life as a sacred matter, respect for all cultures, tolerance, inclusion, all these are our main objectives. We are currently holding 140 teachers in Guatemala enrolled for our 2021 educational program. And it is a big success. We are very satisfied tearing down old walls and opening big doors. Since you know, Guatemala is a very pluricultural country, and yes, we are not completely strangers to violence. Other Latin American countries are very interested in our program because it was taught, planned, and done in Spanish. Remember that 30 countries speak Spanish. Let's remember that if we do not act, others will in a very wrong way. That is why we urge you to pay attention to Spanish-speaker Latin American countries. They are fertile grounds for anti-Semitism, Holocaust denial ideas, neo-Nazi ideology, and all kinds of misconceptions. We fight every day, receive the attacks of anti-Semitism, which only makes us stronger. The museum is under a complete renovation since our doors are closed due to the pandemic, but we are more alive than ever online. It was designed by Edward Hillel. It shows 7 interactive rooms, Holocaust by bullets, explanatory map, headphones to listen to the witnesses, as Father Patrick had shown, and an interactive room showing Auschwitz, mass graves, a cycle that was designed by the artist, Mr. Hillel, life, death, life again. Ending the visit with an amazing art piece of visual artist Sylvia Tenenbaum, The Unnameable, an exquisite art piece. We invite you to follow us on our Facebook page, Museo del Holocausto Guatemala, since our main webpage is under construction too. It is a life-changing experience. We are also designing a media room so that college students from all over the world can come and reach all the Yahad-In Unum huge archive from Guatemala. We are open and willing to help in any way possible. Yes, together we remember, never forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angel. We've been traveling from Eastern Europe, from Romania, from Ukraine, Paris, Belgium, and Angel, who is in Guatemala City. And if you remember in the movie that we presented in the very beginning, we were talking about these blind spots, what we discovered during the investigation in Eastern Europe, and what is repeating after the Holocaust with other mass crimes and genocides. So now we're going to stay in Guatemala, geographically, Central America. And I'm going to ask my colleague, Renata, who is in Brussels, to tell us a little bit of what we are doing in Guatemala to document also these crimes committed against civilians, innocent people during the 80s in Guatemala City. It's a less known mass crime, but we have undertaken since several years to understand this mechanism of genocide. Renata.
Thank you, Marco. Hello, everyone. My name is Renata Skonczyk. I'm Polish, but I've been living in Belgium and Brussels for 18 years. I've been working for Yahad-In Unum for 7 years now, mostly as an interpreter and a team leader. And in the context of my work, I have participated in about 30 research trips, mainly to Poland, but also to Ukraine, to Moldova, and to Guatemala. And it's a part of my experience gained in Guatemala specifically that I would like to share with you briefly today. In 2016 and 2020, I've had an opportunity to participate as an interpreter in 2 research trips to Guatemala. During those and previous trips, Yahad-In Unum focused its research on the mass murder of indigenous Maya people perpetrated during the armed conflict that occurred in Guatemala between 1960 and 1996. According to the UN, the conflict in Guatemala would have left 200,000 dead and missing, 80% of indigenous Maya origin. The most part of those massacres were perpetrated by the army, but there were also massacres that were carried out by the guerrillas, which were, however, less numerous than those perpetrated by the army. I would like to explain you in a few words how such a research trip looks like by sharing with you some of my personal experiences. During its field research on the armed conflict in Guatemala, Yahad-In Unum team follows the same methodology that has allowed it to study the issues of the Holocaust by bullets for over 17 years. For this reason, the experience that my colleagues and I have gained during our participation in many research trips conducted in different countries of Eastern Europe helped us to make the investigation in Guatemala possible. But to make such investigation happen, Yahad-In Unum needs help of a local investigator, a person speaking the language of the country and especially local dialects, in order to establish the first contact with the indigenous Mayan communities and find the witnesses and survivors willing to share their testimonies with our team. Those witnesses and survivors live for the most part in small villages located deeply in the mountains, which are very difficult to reach. For this reason, each day of the trip, Yahad-In Unum team traveled kilometers of winding mountain roads to reach those villages in order to interview the survivors of the armed conflicts. Also, the methodology of the interview itself is very similar to the one used during the investigation of Yahad-In Unum about the Holocaust by bullets. The team leader would ask questions related to the witness's background and mass violence the latter either witnessed, either suffered himself. Those questions would be translated into Spanish, and then respectively, the witnesses' answers would be translated back into English or French. During 10 days of the last trips to the Quiche region in Guatemala, conducted in February 2020, Yahad-In Unum's team managed to collect 52 testimonies of the indigenous Maya survivors of the armed conflicts. According to me, many lessons can be learned from Yahad-In Unum's work, especially by sharing and spreading the results of this work. One of those lessons is that the genocides and the crimes against humanity happened and still happen all over the world, not just in the context of the Holocaust and World War II. Through Yahad-In Unum's work, we can understand the roots of the genocidal conflicts, which is crucial to prevent such conflicts in the future. Those conflicts are fomented by discrimination, hate speech inciting violence, and many other violations of human rights. It is crucial that we all join hands together to defend the principles of equality and human dignity to prevent the future mass crimes to happen. Finally, another important lesson that I've personally learned from Yahad-In Unum work is that it is our duty today as an everyday citizen to remember, commemorate, and affirm the dignity of all the victims of all the crimes against humanity committed all over the world, whether it is 10, 40, or 76 years later. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Renata. And then we're going to travel not only geographically, we're going to travel to Iraq, but also in terms of time. We were documenting the crimes that happened in Eastern Europe 80 years ago. Then we learned of these crimes happening in Guatemala 40 years ago. But now we're going to go to Iraq, where crimes are happening now against the Yazidi people. And for me, it's always very moving, very touching every time that I connect with my team in Iraq and to learn of all the wonderful work they are doing there for the survivors, the Yazidi survivors. So Rangin, thank you very much for being connecting with us today.
So we are very proud to hear Rangin. I was with you, Rangin, 2 days ago. I would like to explain to everybody, it's not easy to have internet in a camp. She's in a camp now, and it's Ramadan, and it's nearly 40 degrees. So we see Rangin, Peshkafti, brother, and all the team behind.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Rangin Shukri. So I worked for Yahad-In Unum since 2017 as an area coordinator. So I would like to talk a bit about our work in Iraq for our Yazidi survivors. So we have a lot of sad stories we would like to share with you, but we don't have enough time to share it with you. So we have 2 centers in Chamishko camp and Qadia camp. So we are doing a great work with our survivors. So we are not just focusing on the work in our center. So as well, we have how can I say?
Serving centers.
We have serving centers in Kabartu camp, Qadia camp, and Chamishko camp, and also we are doing investigation with witness who survived from ISIS. So I cannot talk a lot. So my brother, he will continue it.
Okay, this is Peshkafti. I am actually one of the project officers here for Yahad-In Unum in Iraq and in Kurdistan region, namely. We've been working here since 2015 with Father Patrick Debois, but I officially started working with Yahad in 2017. As some of you might know about the genocide that took place and I would say befallen the Yazidi community in 2014 on August 3rd by ISIS, or internationally known Daesh. We all know, and most of the communities know, but actually there remains large parts of the world that have no understanding of what has happened to the Yazidi in 2014. And during the genocide in 2014, more than 6,000 Yazidis were killed and went missing. And up to this moment, there are many more people who are unaccounted for. We don't know anything about their fate and destiny. And that is why Yahad-In Unum started the initiative of establishing some centers in the camps, namely the Qadia camp, where the majority of the populations are actually coming from a village that was totally annihilated and destroyed by ISIS. All the people from this village were killed except for some few survivors. And we attended actually on behalf of Yahad some months ago for a huge burial ceremony for like 104 people in the village of Kocho in Sinjar, where the genocide was committed. And even now, the genocide, we consider the genocide ongoing because, like more than 350,000 people are still living in the IDP camps dotted across Kurdistan region and some other parts of Iraq. Some people have gone to Turkey, they were displaced to Turkey. Some other people have gone to Europe, and some other people are still seeking for any chance to get out of Iraq because of the very unbearable conditions the Yazidis are going through. So as Yahad, we have helped many survivors. And actually, there is one thing that tells the situation of Yazidi, survivors of genocide apart from the other genocide survivors, which is still the children of genocide survivors are still here, orphans. As you can see behind me, maybe most of them are orphans, and they have lost their parents, and they were in 2 training centers and concentration centers. So that is the reason, actually the main reason why we decided to help or extend a helping hand to these orphans and all the survivors of the genocide. One very important part of the job Yahad is doing in Iraq is actually the investigations carried out by Father Patrick Debois and his team, mainly Costel Nastasi, who have been, and also Marco, who sometimes came here. Actually, that matters the most for the Yazidi community because we would like the genocide to be recognized and more known internationally at the level of international community, and also Europe, America, and all the parts of the world, because the more it goes low profile, the more we will be exposed, or the chances will be higher for us to go under one more genocide. I wouldn't like to talk any more longer because of the time restrictions. If there was enough time, we would talk much longer about what the reality is and how things happened and how things were evolving during ISIS genociding, while ISIS were genociding Yazidi community. And I thank you all for listening. And in case there was anything you would like to ask or raise, you're most welcome. And thank you so much. On behalf of these orphans, we would like to thank you all. And you can see they have drawn actually some paintings expressing, or we can say reflecting the reality. You can see some Yazidi woman among the mass graves walking around. You know, all her family members are killed. That is actually drawn by this very little boy who actually also survived the genocide. So as you can see, his name is Hazem, and I wouldn't talk any longer. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Peshapsky. Thank you very much, Rangin. I think that every time that we listen to you, every time that we connect with you in Iraq and we see all these children survivors, we realize that we still need to do a lot of work. And as I said in the beginning, we hope that one day we will need to commemorate another genocide. Thank you very much for the work you're doing. And before we do the closing remarks from Father Dubois, I just want to thank a lot, very deeply thankful to David, Kel, and of course to Albert in Yahad, who made it possible, together with Hannah and together with Corentin, who is helping us with all the logistics. So thank you very much. It's been a honor for us to be part of this program, and I can only say that we need to continue working and to continue working together. So let's make the closing remarks by Father Dubois, and to light up a candle as well.
So we light this candle. I think a candle is nothing, and when there is a candle, there is light. And you know, the planet now is needing light. They are killing today in Mozambique. There are 11 killed today in Burkina Faso. They are fighting between the Russian and the Ukrainian. They are bombing by the Turkish. There are bombs in Kabul, etc., etc. And so I would say we have all to stand together. We have also all to raise money together, because we cannot fight a genocide without money. And it's also a necessity. So really, I thank everybody for your support. I thank for your friendship. And I dedicate this candle to the victim that has been killed today. Thank you to all our team. Thank you to you who organized that. And I hope light will be today somewhere.